My first guest on the show today is a graduate from NIDA. He toured and performed both nationally and internationally with successful shows such as Oklahoma, West Side Story, Cats, the very, very funny Spamalot. You may or may not have seen it, but it was a great show, so funny. In addition to acting, Scott is a choreographer and the founder of the Melbourne-based group Shh Productions. Scott Hollingsworth's latest production is Performance Management in Cabaret. It sounds interesting, it is interesting, and I think could be even quite funny. Let's find out more. Scott, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Well, Scott, thanks for joining us. Nice to have you with us today, and this is something of a difference, isn't it, the way you've come about with this show?
It is a little different, yes. I have basically returned to corporate life after a very long time working full-time in theatre, and upon re-entering that world, it's crazier than any backstage I've ever experienced. So it spawned this Cabaret performance management.
And if I read it right, it's all designed on, your office workers and what they get up to and all their hassles and so on. Then you've gone and converted that into a cabaret act, is that right?
That's it. So I've worked back in corporate now for about 10 years, and I'm now at the general manager level. So I deal with a lot of staff and a lot of staff issues, and some of the things that I've seen and heard, people just don't believe. So this show actually started in a pub after work one night, and I was telling stories about all of the crazy things that I'd experienced, and people were like, "This is insane, you need to write a show about this." And I was like, "That's a great idea." And that's where it all started.
Well, you've got others joining you on stage too. There's two others, I think three actually, that are performing with you. And of course, it's full of song as well, isn't it? I see you've got songs like from Fiddle on the Roof, and you're doing Mary Poppins and so on. You must blend those into quite a bit of fun.
That's it. Everything is spoofed, so it's very tongue-in-cheek. It's all music that's very relatable, and most people will know all of the songs. And nobody is safe, basically, with me. So I've rewritten everyone's lyrics to my own end. And yes, so Disney cops a little bit of a beating, and there's some pop stuff in there from Jessie J, and there's a little bit of Britney Spears. And so it's all designed not only for the situations to be very relatable, but also the music as well.
Look, it sounds great. You've got a good venue down there at Docklands too. For Saturday week. It's a beaut venue. You can have your tables, you can go to an individual seat and so on, and have a lovely time watching all of this. You went to NIDA many years ago. You've gone out of acting as such, but then you've come back through this corporate area. What influenced you to go to NIDA and study acting?
Well, NIDA was a little bit of an accident for me. I went to a school that was extremely, luckily, supportive of the arts, and was a feeder school for McDonald College and NIDA and that sort of thing. So my parents reluctantly let me apply for NIDA on the advice from my drama teacher that he's too young, he'll never get in, thinking that I would get my second choice and go off and do medicine or something. Unfortunately, the drama teacher was wrong for my parents, fortunately for me, and I ended up at NIDA. So it was a wonderful thing for me. I loved NIDA, and I still teach at NIDA now. Many years later, I often go up and lecture for them for different seasons, particularly their summer season about cabaret and how to form, produce, direct, and find a demographic for cabaret. So I've had a really long relationship with them, and they pretty much were one of three primary schools back in the 80s that had graduates coming out. There was BCA, there was NIDA, and WAPA was just coming into its own at that point. So pretty much from NIDA, you were guaranteed to get some work. Very different story for graduates these days, unfortunately. And that led me into full-time musical theatre for pretty much 15 years.
But that's wonderful. And to hear that you're giving back what you have received as well, I think that's a lovely idea. You're going back to lecture and help others perform and do what you have done.
Absolutely, and that's what Productions is all about as well. I was finding it was a lot of fun for me to go back and do performance part-time while I had the day job, but it was a little bit empty. And so for me, Productions is all about finding young upcoming talent and helping them find a vehicle to get themselves on stage when, you get lots of no's, unfortunately, in this industry. And so when you go to audition and you get a no for a major musical, what am I going to do with myself? I'm going to write my own work. I'm going to find someone who can help me get that to a stage and find an audience. And so that's what Shh was all about.
And Scott, tell me, you said that this came about through the pub and telling jokes and so on in the pub. How long does it take from that point then to get a show such as what you're doing on Saturday up and going?
It took about 9 months, I guess. So I guess technically it's a baby. But yeah, from that point to writing and then, polishing it down and getting it to a point where it could actually see a stage, that was about a 9-month process. And then we premiered last year, and it was a one-man show at that point. It was just me, a 50-minute format. And we had a sellout season, and it was extremely well received, which is always great. When you're writing comedy, you never know if your joke's going to land until an audience actually laughs, which was brilliant. And then this year we had the great opportunity to work with Spiegel Tent, which is a wonderful host venue for a circus-themed cabaret. And that allowed me to bring in a longer format, some of the songs that didn't make it to the first show because the show was too long, gave us the opportunity to bring in some extra cast. So we now have Jessica, Josh and Murat working with me as the circus aerialist, the strong man and the lion. So it's been really wonderful being able to develop it. So from start, I guess, to now has been, almost 2 years.
Now, Scott, do you crack the whip on stage?
I'm not allowed to have a whip because it's actually an OH&S issue, but I do have a riding crop.
I thought it was being the ringmaster who'd go, whew, gotcha.
Yes, so there is a bit of whip cracking, so those in the front row will receive, a bit of harassment from the ringmaster.
Right, so the Spiegel Tent, it's down at Docklands. The booking number is 9602 1311, 9602 1311, and it's on Saturday week, the 9th of July. Scott, wish you well with that. Sounds a lot of fun to me, and, I wish you luck and break a leg, as they say.